we actually had a couple of PlayStation VR 2 games in the state of play. We had Skydance's Behemoth and, intriguingly, Alien Rogue Incursion. And true to form, Alex pointed out it should be Aliens Rogue Incursion because there's more than one alien.
But also, like,
with
all the stuff they were working on visually was all stuff from the
Aliens.
set, was from Aliens, like the pulse rifles. And
so it isn't
the
a Games
motion
Pass scenario.
It is, and no.
Right.
It could be both.
It could be both.
There's probably more than one alien. Xenomorph. Yeah, these I don't have a PSVR 2, but PSVR 2 one. We'll talk about that later. But I thought the Behemoth, however you prefer, looked really like. I mean, visually, I thought it looked pretty okay, but I actually like always things that lean into physical interaction with the environment. And when the character pushed the baddie into a bunch of spikes, I immediately thought of Dark Messiah of Might and Magic, which is a game I have a great...
was that Arcane?
That is Arcane's first game?
I can't remember if it's actually their first, but... I don't think it was. That might not be the first.
It may not be the
but
first, but it's definitely the one that
they were working on. And then after that, it was The Crossing, which got canceled.
Yeah, we talked about that once before in a retro video. But yeah, I thought that looked fun. I'm always a big fan of, like sword and sorcery aesthetic, but darker. You know, like something like a late 70s or early 80s film might look like, in terms of capturing that aesthetic. And then, just like environmental interactivity and swords and bow. I like the one scene when the character catches the flying arrow towards them and puts it in the bow and shoots it back. That's a lot of fun stuff that you can do in VR and not have it be super awkward. Games tend to like have that in a button mechanic where it's like, it doesn't feel like so heroic, but in VR it can. And I think that works really well. They announced this for PSVR 2, this first game. I don't know if this one is coming to other platforms. I know Aliens is, though, coming to MetaQuest 3, we found out, and Steam VR. So
I'm actually checking Behemoth.
Yeah.
It says MetaQuest for Behemoth and Steam
that's
VR.
Cool. Yeah, then that's cool. So you can tell us maybe how it is on MetaQuest 3.
I'll try that. I think that'll probably work really well on there. Alien as well. It's interesting. Alien specifically says MetaQuest 3, which is another... Like Batman, it's another one where they've decided to drop Quest 2 support.
Right.
Which I think makes sense at this point. Like, there's a huge Quest 2 audience, but like the Quest 3 is dramatically better hardware. But I gotta say, Alien is probably one of the games where, even though the motion clarity on the Quest 3 absolutely smokes the PSVR 2, the PSVR 2 has OLED. Yeah. So it actually can do that perfect blackness, whereas the Quest 3 uses LCDs and they don't have that. So this would be one I would like to play on PSVR 2. I think it would be really good on there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of potential there. That's sort of like, I mean, obviously the aliens aesthetic with the tracker and everything. That's pretty much made for VR.
It is,
right?
really.
Holding that and hearing things around you using like sort of the spatial sound. That would be pretty unnerving and could be really exciting.
It would be.
I'm very interested to see how those two games turn out.
Yeah.
I'm happy that they've announced it, but it does feel, the PSVR 2 situation feels eerily similar to the Vita. Where Sony itself just kind of like...
They've cut it loose.
At the same time, though, it's interesting that we've now settled into this place where they can release games on Steam, Quest, and PSVR 2. So VR that actually makes VR development a little bit more viable for everyone.
Better. That's what you want to see.
You
and
can
not
target all the different VR platforms, and that's probably that's what they're gonna have to do.
Yeah.
To like make money on this stuff. But Sony itself seems kind of checked out on it. Like Astro Bot, I'm happy it's just a console game, but I feel like there should have been something for PSVR owners, because that's really where Astro Bot got its start. At the very least, like a remastered version of the original PSVR game, just because like it's so freaking good.
Do you think there's the possibility that they might actually have like a subset of levels in Astro Bot for VR?
It's possible.
I mean, we were talking last night that the controller that was actually represented in the game for Astro Bot was the DualSense and not the VR controller.
Yeah.
But, well, that is true. But Astro Bot 1 was the same.
Oh, right.
Where it uses the DualShock 4. Yeah. But it actually represented it using motion in the game. And you would you'd see them pop out of the touchpad and they did a lot of stuff with it in the game. Like that was the whole conceit, is that it used the regular controller, but it used it in a way that you'd never seen before. That felt like amazing. Like when you, like in the original, you would like flick on the touchpad to like shoot out like a hook, and it would create like this rope line, right? And then it's attached to your controller, so you move like this, and the rope moves with it, and you're walking with the analog stick Astro Bot across it, but you're also controlling this, and you'd actually have to like move the controller with the rope attached while you're controlling the character, and it just felt like it was really cool. Unfortunately, I think that was very VR centric. Like they took advantage of the VR nature, so I don't think you could just like say take the levels from this new game and make it work in VR as effective. Like you could, but it wouldn't be nearly as effective. So but they should have. It would be cool if they had at least some like extra content, or again, just like remaster Astro Bot 1, or give something to PSVR users.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty common. It's common to see games moving from 2D experience to VR experience, but like Half-Life Alyx, it's hard to bring down that VR experience, which is based fully on this interactivity with the environment and or objects, down into the 2D zone. It's like pretty hard to actually make the game fun. Then it's like simple at that point when you just have to hit a button.
Still a bummer we never got Half-Life Alyx on PSVR. But I guess if they're bringing PC compatibility, at least
maybe then it happens to some degree with Steam VR. If it is Steam VR compatible.
Because, I mean, good PC headsets are still pretty expensive, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, you know, when you consider that, like if you have a PSVR 2, having a PC, and the PC requirements for Alyx are not that high.
Not anymore, no. How much is it, Meta Quest 3?
The Quest is $550. Same as the PSVR 2.
Yeah, but it offers all this stuff. It's incredible.
All in
I don't want to get in trouble with PSVR 2 enthusiasts again. With my professing my love of the Quest 3. The Quest 3 is the best PC headset, in addition to be its own standalone.
Yeah.
But the PSVR 2 has its advantages. Mm-hmm. The OLED screens are nice, even though that's why the motion clarity sucks. Mm-hmm. Because basically, I guess Meta was able to, because they use LCDs, they can crank up those nits to compensate for the extreme, like, however they're handling the strobing of the panels. Mm-hmm. And like even Blur Busters noted that the Meta Quest 3 they basically achieved perfect motion clarity. It is like CRT or better. Mm-hmm. It's an agreement. It's flawless. Okay. The Quest 3 has no blur. Like when you move your head around, anything moves on the screen. It's absolutely perfect.
Remarkable.
But I think if you did that on an OLED screen, unfortunately, it would mean that the image would be extremely dim.
Right.
And which would be okay in VR, but like that goes against Sony pushing for HDR and VR.
It's the other design principle just goes away.
I would sacrifice the HDR for motion clarity.
I mean, like the thing is, if you're already in like a darkened environment, HDR is
your eyes get used to it though.
Yeah, like you're used to the range at that point.
I will say the HDR can be cool on PSVR 2, like when you're playing GT7 and like you get the sun glint on the rear view mirror and it like makes you squint, like your brain actually feels like, oh man, like this is like driving a real car. Like you actually feel that same effect that you get in real life when the sun peeks through the rearview mirror, and that actually impressed me. So I wouldn't miss that kind of thing, but I would love the option to do like an ultra low persistence mode with dimmer visuals as just an optional thing.
Fair enough.